Hey there, good morning. This is Shannon Lynch, your local realtor here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And thanks for joining me. Today, my guest is Debbie Castaneda of JD24investments. Good morning.
Good morning,
So
Shannon.
good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I interview a bunch of different folks, and I everything from, people that are building, $1 million to $2 million homes and that sort of thing. And they've really gone through their whole journey and their trajectory. And so I thought it'd be great for us to sit down and talk because you're earlier on your journey. And so I thought it would be really great for us to sit down and talk because people that are just getting started in investing and rehabbing and building, I think they're a little bit lost. Like they just don't know what they don't know. And so I thought it would be great for us to sit down and talk because you could definitely offer some insights. It's a lot more fresh for you. It's a lot more recent. So when did you guys start investing?
We started our investing career in 2016, in April of 2016, and we've just done a slow move into it because I wanted to really learn it correctly versus jumping in and being overwhelmed.
Right.
And because I was the one working this first and my husband still, Jerry kept working, I was more afraid of making a big mistake and it causing us our savings.
Which is, I think, the case for a lot of people. I mean, that's right. When we start out, nobody has, I think it's probably rare that anybody has a really big, huge nest egg. So you're going to start the slow trajectory, which is why I think your story is so great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been slow and steady and grateful. In the 4 years going on 5, we were able to do 2 rehabs a year. And in between those rehabs, we've also purchased our rental portfolio, which we just put into a portfolio, which was amazing. That was a big step for us too. And we've also done our first new build and got that under our belt and ready for the next one. This 2021 will be another new build, but I'm still into the slow process of it so that I can completely learn it from step 1 all the way to the end. Our first one was a little bit of a new challenge for us, and grateful it was done. It took us a year, but it got done.
Yeah.
And we just kept calling it the gift that kept on giving.
So how did you guys start? Like, were you both still working full-time 9-to-5 jobs when you got started?
Yes. We went through a hard year in 2015, both of us, and I was just a zombie. It was just one of those years where you just go to work, go to home, go to sleep. And I had just switched jobs, and it was a little bit harder, working more hours, and I was just tired. And Jerry kept saying, you can't keep doing this. And I'm like, this is all I know. And he kept saying, well, this is your turn to do a business. And I said, well, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Open an auto parts? Because that's all I've done all my life. Auto parts is a manager for an auto parts. And he says, well, we can do that. And I said, okay, you do that.
Wasn't what you wanted to do.
It wasn't what I wanted to do. And little by little, he kept looking into real estate and going into meetings. And I was too tired. And I kept telling him I'm not excited about that. And he would basically force me to go to them, and we went to 2 of them, and all they wanted was sign here, give us $15,000 and we'll get you started. And I'm like, okay, how much is this going to cost? So I was getting just annoyed.
See, that's interesting. I didn't know that Jerry was kind of the push. I thought you were initially.
Not on this one. It was him.
That's funny.
If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here today because I didn't see the vision. But he kept saying, but you love those shows and you love doing rehabs and you love, redecorating the house. And I said, yeah, but it's not the same.
That's true.
And so
that's very true.
he pushed me toward it. We did get into a group that we finally realized it was a great place. That's where I met Ernie, Ernie Smith. We met Ernie and we would go to his meetings every Wednesday and it was great. We had fun. And then I went. That was a meeting that caught my attention because they weren't asking me for $15,000 up front.
Yeah.
It was just, hey, come on in, learn, talk to people, network.
Yeah.
And that's what started us.
Yeah. It's a big difference. You're right. I mean, there's either the gurus that are selling courses on how to, or there's the smaller subgroups that I think tend to focus more on sharing knowledge and information and kind of helping each other out. So
Yeah, we did start with one of those groups during Christmas. That's what started us. Is we went to a 3-day course for I think $1,800. They gave us 75% of the information and then said, "Okay, sign here for $100,000. We'll show you the rest." And Jerry and I looked at each other. We're like, "Well, we don't have $100,000. So what do we do now?" And they said, "Oh, sorry, can't talk to you anymore because we have to talk to the people that did sign up."
Ouch.
So we went to the car and we looked at each other, and I looked at him and I said, "I didn't just waste 3 days of my life for me not to know what's going on." So that's why he continued on searching for that perfect group to get us started. And we found it. So for a good year, we stayed with the group and talked a lot to Ernie because he's a general contractor. And Ernie Smith, hello. But he was definitely one of them that helped us so much to get to where we're at today, and just kind of guided us, because that was the only missing link, was the guidance of, can I really do this?
Well, and I think there's a lot of information out there that is free. I mean, Bigger Pockets is an amazing, I mean, their podcasts are just great.
Yes.
So you just gotta dig to find the information. But I hear you on that too. And this is one of those things where, you don't really necessarily get a mentor, and most people are just kind of, dog paddling in the water and trying to figure it out. And, and it's a great way to make money, but it's also a really great way to lose your shirt hard, quick, if you aren't paying attention and doing what you're supposed to be doing and keeping on top of things. So I think a lot of people are enticed by it because it has such a potential upside. But I mean, over the years, I've watched people lose their shirts. One person I know committed suicide during that 2007, 2008 downturn. I mean, it's no joke. I mean, people seem to, I feel like in some ways people are very sort of kind of flippant about it. Like, oh yeah, we could do this. And I think what you're saying, like the TV shows, I think really kind of foster that sort of mentality that people go like, oh, it can't be that hard, until you actually do one. And then you realize there's so many more steps to it, and there's so much more to it than what you see on a TV show.
Definitely. And a lot of the help also has been, and I know for both of us, has been meeting with other investors and visiting job sites.
Absolutely.
And that helps motivate, and it helps you feel encouraged and network together.
Yeah.
We're working together, but yet we have our own projects. But sometimes you may come across something I've already come across.
Right.
We can, kind of bounce it around, say, oh, well, try this or try something else. Also, too, is I say, oh, I like your wall, your accent wall, and we'll take that and run with it. So it's a lot of networking still.
Well, I think it's different. Like for you and me and Stephanie, for us three, we don't mind sharing our subs. We don't mind. So we work separately but collaboratively.
Yes.
And I don't see a lot of that in this field. I just don't. It's more of an every man for himself. People are very, they don't want to let go of their subs. And understandably, it's tough to get really good subs. And when you need them. But you also want to make sure, and what I like about what we do is that, we kind of keep our subs in our fold. So it's not hard to get a hold of one of them if we need to.
Correct.
Which works out for us.
Yes.
So when you guys started, what was the first thing you did? Was it a rehab?
It was a rehab. It was a 1900 house in Concord.
Okay.
And everybody kept talking, the groups kept talking, oh, you only need 30,000, 3,000 for everything. Well, I didn't realize that they were talking about 700 square foot homes or 900 square foot homes. This one was a 1,700 square foot home.
Yeah.
So the $30,000 rehab was not true.
Yeah.
It turned into 65.
Well, I mean, that's such a big part of what we do is you got to know how to run your numbers. You got to have some sort of working knowledge of what's it going to cost to put in a window and install it, and how many windows do you have, and what's it going to cost you price per square foot to do your flooring? Are you talking what's it cost for tile? What's it cost for carpet? What's it cost for luxury vinyl plank? What's it going to cost you, per room to paint? What's it going to cost you? How many plumbing fixtures do you have? With your electrical, do you have to replace the panel? I mean, like, these are, do you need an HVAC? What's an HVAC going to run? And it's funny because when you do it for a while, like we have, you kind of know off the top of your head, like, oh, that's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of this to that, But if you haven't, that's where I think the subgroups do come in handy, is you got to really talk with people, because I know you get a lot of your deals from wholesalers, correct?
Yes.
And
yes.
A lot of times the numbers that they'll give you for the repair value is just not accurate. And the truth is everybody's going to come up with a different repair number, because the way I'm going to rehab a house versus the way you're going to rehab a house is going to be different. And we could bring 10 investors in and they're all going to come up with different numbers as far as their repair value. Some things, if you have to have an HVAC, electrical, plumbing, flooring, siding, new roof, those things are kind of set. But then where I think it differs is, what cabinets are you going to put in versus I'm going to put in? Are you going to put in carpet and I'm going to put in hardwood? That's where I think, there's discrepancies in what our numbers are going to be. But I think a lot of wholesalers it would be great if they would actually go out with a rehabber and watch us walk through and learn more about how we run our numbers and what needs to be done. Because I feel like a lot of people use wholesaling as their entryway into real estate investing. But I think you got to really have at least some sort of grasp on what those numbers look like, because you do want to have buyers that are going to come back to you over and over again that will perform and close on the deal.
Yeah, Jody Christensen does that.
Love her.
Yes, she will get a GC and get an estimate and let you know, hey, this is wrong, that's wrong. She has a lot of detail on hers. I've been doing a lot with her lately.
Yeah, she goes above and beyond most of the wholesalers that
she
we've
does.
spoken
So
with.
really, really excited to have her in our group also.
Yeah.
And she's just very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And very, very upfront. And she'll let you know, hey, it's not a good deal. So I always tell her, I said, okay, show it to me anyway, because we may think different, or I may have a different exit strategy. So
very true.
You always have five exit strategies. Just always know, is it a rental? Is it a fix and flip? Is it a
Airbnb?
Tear down, an Airbnb?
Yeah.
You have to kind of always have a way out.
No, I think that's a really great point that you just brought up, because, maybe it doesn't make sense as a rehab, but maybe it makes sense as a buy and hold, as a long-term rental. So again, you're right. The numbers are going to be different for everybody depending on their exit strategy and what they're going to do to the home. So really, really good point.
Correct. And then too is I may like the area where somebody else may not. So everything is always, it's best to drive by it, drive the neighborhood, and see what you're getting into.
I think that's huge, because, if you don't go and drive it, you don't know if there's a high tension power line nearby. You don't know. I mean, these are it's so funny, because on the realtor side of things, they'll show you, in the continuing education classes, oh, here's the picture, and it's like a tight shot of the house. And then they show you go out a little bit further, and there's like a high tension power line, basically right next to the house or close or within the line of sight. And ask any appraiser, that reduces the value of the house. A lot of people don't want to live near that, which is something that has to be factored in, to your numbers on the back end if it is something like a fix and flip. But so you did your first rehab. Was it what you thought it was going to be?
It was the one that taught me that this was for me.
Really? Okay, that's a good. All right. So why? How?
It started off as, oh yeah, no problem, just demo a little bit, and everybody kept saying, don't demo everything. Well, 6 months later, we ended up having to re-demo everything, because if we wouldn't have, since it was a 1900 home, we wouldn't have noticed a lot of the walls had to get redone because of termite damage. So that's where listening to too many people got in the way, because everybody kept saying, don't take off the walls because they grandfather in. Well, in a 1900 home, you just need to demo completely, because it was plaster and also that wood under it.
The lathing strips, yeah.
So it was a lot. So we ended up 6 months later figuring out, let's just demo it because this isn't working. And after so many contractors or telling, the plumber kept saying, no, this thing is going to fall down. You should just tear it down. And I kept saying, no, it's a 1900 house. Why would I tear it down? If it lasted 100 years, why can it last more? So that's where the demo came in. It's like, okay, let's demo completely and see what we've got.
It's such a love-hate with these older homes.
Yes.
I love renovating older homes, but my goodness, they just bring a wealth of challenges.
And that's where I learned that, yes, this was for me because I redesigned the whole thing. That was my first one where I literally redesigned everything. It was a 2-story. It was a bedroom upstairs and a loft, and we turned it into 2 bedrooms and a bathroom in the center. The bathroom was a last-minute decision, so there went a lot of redoing again. So talk about doing things 3 times. Yes, we did.
But it was a learning experience.
It was. And if it wasn't for that house, I would have given up.
See, and I think a lot of people would say, oh my God, it took me a year, what should have taken me 4 to 6 months, and would have said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Why do you think for you it was the opposite?
Because I've always, all my life, worked with things that challenge me. And this was definitely a challenge. And I knew that if I can get through this one, then I can get through any of them. So it taught me, it threw everything at me on a rehab. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
And it
that would have been discouraging for a lot of people.
And that's what helped me, is to know that, yes, now I can take on anything because I've seen it already. Foundation issues, new walls, termite damage, crawl space that was only 12 inches high. Yes, I've seen it all.
Yeah. See, and yet I feel like I still learn something new on every single one.
Yes.
Every single one brings a surprise.
It does. And that's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is. That's true. That's true.
And sometimes that's how you have to kind of take it, is, okay, show it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me learn. And even your rentals teach you things, and it will keep teaching you.
True. So you have rehabs. You've renovated older homes. You've also done new construction.
Yes, that one also.
What made you decide to switch to new construction? How'd that come about?
That was a part of the house that, the house tells you what you're going to do. Well, that's what happened. The house got knocked down by misunderstandings, and so now it became a new build.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was the gift. We called that one the gift that keeps on giving. Because even till the very, very end, when we thought we were done, it was septic tank,
mm-hmm.
and well, and all the way to the last minute, we needed a new well pump.
Yeah.
So it kept giving, no matter what, it kept giving. But we tried, the plans were already done, because this one was going to be my first step into getting into a brand new build in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so that I could learn the plans. We did it with plans and engineer and architect just to learn the plans, but it wasn't supposed to be a knockdown. It was supposed to just be a new roof,
mm-hmm.
a new roof line. And that's where the miscommunication happened with one of the workers. He said, oh, but it's easier to build new. So they knocked everything down. I was filming day 1, day 2 of the roof coming down, and I was all excited, and I was filming it, and then the 3rd day I get there, and it's like, I started crying. I was like, Jerry, I was on the phone with him, and I'm like, it's gone. And he goes, what's gone? And I'm like, I was in such shock. I kept saying, it's gone. And he's like, what's gone? The house, it's gone.
Oh my God.
The contractor and I showed up at the same time, and we're both like, what happened?
Oh my gosh.
So after that, it was a 3-month delay, because the plans now had to be switched over to new build versus rebuild.
I mean, that sounds like lawsuit.
It's a claim. It's a claim against the insurance, and we're still working with it.
Wow.
We're still working on that. That's why I said sometimes things you keep learning.
I know my eyes are like saucers right now. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine.
And that one was
showing up and it's gone.
And it was gone. And now here you go with learning how to grading and learning the foundation. And that's why I said that one kept on teaching me. And I got a GC with me that helped me through it from that point on. And he was and that was Blake Bucci. He was just so understanding and very, I couldn't have done it without him because I had so many questions.
Yeah.
That he was just very, always, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what I asked or what time I asked. He would explain it, or he'd show up at the job site with me and tell me what's going on, what's the next step. And he'd, send me text messages, hey, next week we're doing this. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have gotten through it.
So there was one that I had taken on with a partner that we looked at it, and it was an early 1900s home over in Villa Heights. And we at that time thought we were going to just do an addition on it. We had gone ahead and worked with the architect, had the plans drawn up. And then we had the structural engineer come out, and he was like, this foundation cannot support. It's in terrible shape. And I was distraught. So it was like, all right, we're at the point now that we bought it right. And if we sell it, we can sell it to somebody else as a tear down, and they can go ahead and do it. But we just weren't sure what the market was going to do. Had I had a crystal ball and known that the market was going to do what it's done over these last, 5, 6, 7 years, I would have kept that house, because even the money that we had put into it, because this market was still skyrocketing. I mean, at that time when we looked at what the comps would be to do the new construction build and the square footage, we didn't feel like there was enough meat on the bone to make the numbers work. Just so happened that if you were paying attention to what the market was doing, the market was still ramping up exponentially. Like, it was just really ramping up. Yeah. So we wound up selling the house, and we had, luckily, basically a break even. So we were just happy that we didn't lose any money on it. But the guy that bought it from us, I think probably did well, because by the time he was done with the new construction build, the market had saved. He made a profit on it, because the number that we thought the house would sell for, based on today's numbers, was so much higher, 6 to 8 months later, when the build was actually completed. That he was in fine shape. I mean, as far as I know. It was too skinny that I didn't feel comfortable continuing. But like I said, if I had been more knowledgeable and was better at that point in time, tracking the market trends, I would have said, let's go ahead and do the build. But, these are things that you really should be paying attention to as an investor, is what is your market doing and what's going to happen now? I mean, we're in 2021, we're about to have a changing of the guard in our highest office. And, people are questioning, what's the market going to do? We've had so many folks with, rent forbearance, that now that we're, there was a podcast we were listening to that Roy Koppelman had suggested, which was a fantastic podcast, with the predictions for 2021. And one of the things they talked about was that they thought that rent forbearance is going to become rent forgiveness, which means all these landlords, all these big, bad, scary landlords that have lots of money, like you and I, are going to be stuck covering that 6 to 9 months worth of mortgage that the renters haven't paid for. Correct. And that's scary to me, because these are not big companies or REITs that are owning these businesses. My feeling is, the folks that are smaller mom and pops, just like smaller mom and pop restaurants, are either going to sell or, I keep watching what's going on and trying to see what direction things are going to go. I don't know. Anyhow, I sidelined anyhow. So for you, what do you like doing new construction over doing rehabs, or what's your feeling on that?
I love doing a rehab. I love the rehab. I love the beginning of it. Now it's so second nature that I know the timeline on it now, and because I've done it now for 5 years, it's a lot easier. Mm-hmm. And I can, like I told people, is I walk into the building first and I look at it and I appreciate for what the beauty it is and for the love it gave, because mm-hmm. a family lived there many years. And then I walk outside, and then I walk back inside, and now I say, okay, what can we do for today's family so that they can live in it another 50 years? Mm-hmm. And how can I make it for today's time and open concept. And so I thank it for what it was. And then I go in with fresh eyes. I go back inside. I literally walk outside, walk back in, and then look at it with fresh eyes and say, okay, well, if I move this wall and I move that wall. So even my Concord house that was over there, I reconfigured the whole thing. It used to be a 2-bedroom. We turned it into a 3-bedroom with a master suite.
And you stayed within the footprint.
And we stayed exactly within
So
the
you
footprint.
Created value.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
That's one of my most favorite things about renovations is if I can figure out how to put in extra beds and baths, and create value within the existing footprint. Of course, there's an expense with opening up walls, and moving walls around. But, what's the ROI on that?
Right. And it is, especially with today's market, it is definitely the way to go. Because, like I said, the houses back in the 50s, 30s, they were very boxy.
Yes.
So now we're just opening it up and making it open concept. So when you walk in, you have your kitchen, your living room, and we always try to go for the 3-bedroom because the 3-bedroom is what is the most popular out there that is needed.
Yeah.
But we stay of course, we're under the $200,000 market sometimes, so they sell pretty quick.
Which is incredible. That is so hard to find in our market right now. I mean, our market is just on fire.
It is. It is.
I mean, you really can't find anything in Charlotte. I mean, you're finding teardowns for $200,000. So I understand what you're saying. A lot of the investors we know have gone now to the outskirts of town, the towns around Charlotte proper, if you will.
Yes.
But wow. So you're finding land. So at this point, so rehabs, is that really your preference?
I'm going to Jerry and I will be doing a new build this 2021 so that we know from day one it's a new build so that we know the process of it. Because on the other one, we started kind of in a third of it and started backwards. So we're going to try it again. And now that we know, and we also learned, we made a lot of great contacts from that build. So now I'm not afraid of it. We're going to get it, with looking at it straight on and excited to move forward. I told Jerry, if we do one new build a year, we're good. And then maybe a rehab or two.
Yeah.
In between. So 2 rehabs and 1 new build a year. That's a good goal.
Yeah,
That's
agree.
a good goal. We're still slow and steady because I'm still one of those that I'd rather learn it real well versus overwhelming myself.
Yeah. It can be stressful for sure.
It can, especially when, you've got too many going on and you've got things that have to be ordered and delivered and you're running ragged. Yes, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
What do you think the biggest challenge is when you're doing any, whether it's a new construction or whether it's a rehab? What do you find to be the greatest challenge? Is it the subs? Is it the getting the materials? Is it the finding the property?
Finding the property, because now everything, we've gotten so many good contacts for the materials to be delivered, but it's definitely finding the property right now. It is, we had about 3 of them under contract and none of them came through because the sellers decided not to sell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's been very challenging.
Yeah.
I had one in Gastonia that whatever she wanted, we gave, we said, yeah, let's do the contract. And then right when I called her again, said, okay, whenever you're ready. And she's like, oh, we're going to stay.
Oh.
So, but because the market is so unpredictable right now that they don't want to move on.
Yeah.
They don't want to move on.
I get it, right? So you sell your property, now where do you go?
Exactly. And that's what's happened is, okay, so if I sell it for you, to you for this price, where am I going to go they can't find anything in that price, of course. So that's where the challenge is.
Right.
So they decide to stay instead.
So, and then do you also do rentals as well?
We have yes, we do. We have quite a few rentals, thank goodness. And those we turned it into a portfolio this last year in December, and we're still picking up rentals because there's always going to be somebody renting. And we do a lot of 1-bedroom, 1-bath for just a couple or a person. And we enjoy that because this way there's not so much traffic and they stay in the place much longer.
So are you doing, with all that's been going on with with rents right now? Are you doing like a monthly lease? Are you doing Airbnb? What does that look like for you?
Since day one, I do month to month because a lot of times I inherit the tenant, and my explanation to them is this way: if you don't like it, you can go at any time you want. Just give me a month's notice. And same for me is if it's not a good fit, we're able to part our ways.
Yeah.
And this way we're not. But since day one, I do month to month.
Okay. How are we doing on time? Are we good? 5 minutes? Okay. So I guess, so we got 5 minutes left. I just got the 5-minute signal. All right. So I guess, what do you need going forward? Like if, because a bunch of people are going to see this and you have an audience now. So do you want to speak to the wholesalers on what you're looking for? Do you want to speak to the newbie investors and give them some advice?
To the newbie investor, your best way to start is visit job sites. Visit job sites because that's the only way you're going to get motivated and the only way you're going to know it's possible. And that's how I was able to just jump. I said, let's do it. And of course, get in with, hopefully we start opening up again with meetings, with in-person meetings. Mm-hmm. Those were the best. Friday morning meetings we also do. Those are amazing. I look forward to my Friday morning meetings with Wendy Sweet. Mm-hmm. So we do look forward to those every Friday. They're just, sometimes you just need that little kick. And that's what I always need. It's not a Friday without my meeting.
Yeah. I mean, for me with COVID, I'm going to lie low for a while longer. We were just looking at the numbers of how many people were kind of, masking up and doing the right thing. And that was something like 50%. But over Christmas, it went down to like 15%. So by the, end of January, we're probably going to see an uptick in outbreaks. So for me personally, I'm going to lie low. I wish we could do the meetings more like Zoom calls. That would be my comfort zone personally. But I agree with you. I completely miss the meetings because you get the networking and the camaraderie of other people that are in the trenches with you. And I think you raise a really good point. Like the meetings are great, but getting out on a job site and seeing it and breathing it is just, it's different. It's just a different feel. And it does. It psychs me, it pumps me up.
Yes.
So I get it. Like I like to come and see what you're doing or what Stephanie's doing for me, it's different because then I also have my builders. So I get to see what my builders are doing as those are in the process. So that's always something I aspire to because these guys they're much bigger fish at this point.
I'll be visiting Paul. I'll be visiting Paul Olson on his property because he'll be doing the quad.
Three. No, it's going to be 3. It'll be 3 townhomes in South Park. So yeah, I'm super excited. That's been in the works for a while. So yeah.
So I'm excited to see that because that is going to be my next step. Once I get a few builds under my belt, I'm going to go for multi-build. Yeah. So that's. In order for me to get there, I need to start watching it now.
And Paul's great. He's really fantastic as far he's very patient and he's happy to sit down and just talk with you, and show you what he's doing. Like he's good people.
Yeah, very, very good. So and that's what is great about networking is everybody is willing to help, but you just have to show up. If you show up, everybody is willing to stop and walk you through it. Yeah. But if you don't show up, then it doesn't show that you're motivated.
Well, they don't want you to waste their time.
Exactly.
And there's plenty of people that will do that and will never pull the trigger. But if they see that you're serious, then yeah, I think there's a handful of really good people that want to see others succeed, that look at what we do not from a position of scarcity, but a position of abundance.
Exactly. So. And visiting different people at different stages is perfect so that you can see the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that helps a lot. So when you do have questions, you know who to ask because they've already gone through it. And it's exciting. And never feel that we're in competition.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, is there is no competition.
Yeah. I think the mindset is that's huge. Perspective and mindset is going to be such a big part of how you run your business and how you act and interact with other people. So no, I think that's all good, valid points. So
yeah, the way we feel is the more we give, the more we get back.
Yeah.
And that's been the best. That's been the best. And you help, you hold everybody by the hand, and everybody holds hands, and you move forward. You move forward as a team.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Debbie, I'm so glad we got a chance to catch up.
Oh, thank you. It was great. It's been, like I said, you've been with me also throughout my whole time of doing my.
We've definitely have bounced. There's been phone calls. Deb, do you have a tile guy? What's going on with it? What do I do with this? How do I do this? What should we do with this?
Yeah.
But it's great. That's great. I think that's probably the advice I would give would be find your tribe.
Yes.
Find your tribe, because if you can find a one or two other investors that kind of are in the same boat that you're in, and everybody brings their strengths to the table, and you learn from each other, and then you feel like you have a support system. You're not just out there flapping all by yourself.
Exactly. And you feel much better, even just bouncing it off, even at 10 o'clock at night, going, what do you think about this? And it just makes you feel better.
Well, I'll be asleep at 10 o'clock at night. You can call me in the morning. But
I'll leave you a text. You can answer
there
in the
you
morning.
go. That happens. That does happen.
You're the 5 a.m. I'm the 10 a.m.
Yeah,
10 p.m.
I know. Early bird. So, well, awesome. Well, thanks. It was so good to catch up with you.
Thank you. It was the
And I
best.
appreciate you coming on and talking about the experience, because I think a lot of people put a rosy face on all of it. And it's not. I mean, we all have our horror stories and our moments of anxiety and fear and all of that. So thank you for keeping it real.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Take care, and we'll see you soon.